Well, hello everyone. As you can see, I'm recording outside today, so you get to enjoy more greenery than usual. The downside being more noise, more ambient noise, so hopefully that won't be too disturbing or too distracting. What do I call the INFJ perceptive switch, or the perceptual switch? It's a talent of INFJs that they share with INTJs, and in some ways INTJs are more effective at putting it in place than INFJs are. And we'll understand why in a second. It's just something that I've seen INFJs be good at, something that distinguishes INFJs often as compared to other types. Not to say that other types can't do the same thing, but it just seems to be, like I said, almost like an instinctual talent of INFJs. And in fact, we can even uncover a little bit why this is instinctual. So the perceptive switch is something like this. Imagine that you're in a room, or maybe you're at university and you're in a seminar room, or you're at the workplace and you're having a meeting and you're doing a visioning exercise, for example. So you're looking at a particular problem. Could be in an academic context, could be in a professional context, could be in a different context. You're looking at a problem and you're trying to come up with solutions. INFJs won't necessarily be the best at coming up with particular solutions, or at least the fastest. They might be good at it, but of course PE leads, for example, at least will be coming up they will be good at coming up with lots of different possible solutions. Most of them won't work, but sometimes they have power in numbers. They come up with so many possible alternatives with their lateral thinking that maybe one of them will work. If you get a TI dominant, maybe they will come up with solutions that are not as many in numbers, but more likely to work because their TI will have kind of finessed the particular mechanisms in play, more so than any dominant. Now, where NI dominants, I think, come to stand out, is often they will say, look, it's not so much that we need to be looking for solutions to this particular problem, is that we have not been looking at the problem in the right way. And as long as we have not articulated the problem, the basic elements in the right way, well, certainly we won't be able to actually find solutions. Because if we try to find solutions to a problem that has been incompletely articulated or inaccurately articulated, well, then the solutions we find, even if they are good solutions, they're good solutions to badly articulated problems, so they actually are going to be bad solutions. And this is something that you can see INFJs do even in everyday conversations. When you have a debate with them, when you have a conversation with them, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? How do you think we should go about this? Often their first reflex will be to say, but your vision is not correct. You should actually go back and re-articulate it. This is something that has to do with perception. It's not something that has primarily to do with judgments, because often the INFJ will be hard-pressed to quite explain what is wrong with the particular vision, the particular articulation of the problem, because a problem, when it's articulated, always is relying on an implicit worldview, and INFJs are worldview types, INTJs are worldview types. And like I said, INFJs will tend to be very good at figuring out whether the problem that arises from a worldview is coherent and actually makes sense. Because this actually requires more than just TI parsing. It requires really relying on what the implicit worldview is in relation to external reality. When I say that INFJs do this almost instinctively or instinctually, well, I think one of the reasons is that this comes from NI's relationship to the archetypes. Archetypes are symbols accruing from sedimentation of world experience over millennia and millions of years. I mean, at least by the Jungian theory. These are below consciousness, but what Jung says is that, and I think quite correctly, archetypes are in fact the representations of the instincts. So there's something to do with instincts there, which is why the INFJ reaction also often seems instinctive and difficult to explain. It's like it's not brought to the rational calculations of consciousness. But what I find is that often this power of INFJs, again with INTJs, they can use TE to operationalize those insights quicker, so they can be more valued more quickly, particularly in a work context. With INFJs, often it's underrated because the INFJ doesn't even really get the time. They need more time. INFJs need time. I always go on about this. They need more time to be able to bring that contribution forth. like the NE dominants who will come up with lots of alternatives will do that quite quickly. Even the TI dominants who have, by definition, NE or SE auxiliary, they'll be able to come up with proposals quicker. INFJs will need more time, and sometimes by the time they come up with it, it's too late, the conversation's ended. And that also can bring, if you like, a lower sense of confidence, which can then further compound their ability to contribute. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity lost for them and for the employer or for the university in the process. And this can also contribute to make us try to think of ways in which INFJs can be valued more in the workplace or in those contexts through this idea of the perceptual shift. Because I think it's a real talent, and that a lot of people could benefit from it. And people who value INFJs tend to value that skill very much. And they often, tell them things like, you see things differently. Well, often that means they can do this perceptual shift quicker than other people or more profoundly than other people. Now, if you want to deepen your understanding of INFJs, you know that I have written 2 books on INFJs. The Ecstatic Soul, which is an in-depth look at the mind of INFJs and INFJ consciousness, so check it out. And also The Infinite Soul, which is my more recent book, INFJ Life in the Modern World. The modern world is hostile for INFJs in lots of ways, including what I've described today. Their lack of valuation, the lack of respect they're shown by other people, especially toward their real worth. So if you want to learn more about that and how INFJs can cope, find value, meaning, and purpose, this is the book to get. And if you have it but haven't loved it but haven't reviewed it yet, I always benefit from more reviews for referencing purposes on Amazon, so please consider that. And don't forget, the lifeblood of my channel is my Patreon page. There's a link down there. From $3.50 a month, €3 a month, you can support me and keep the channel going. You get to interact with me there. You can suggest new content. I do young readings and other things. I do some bonus content as well. It's not a lot of support, but for me, when it's multiplied and matters a lot, helps me keep going. So please consider it. See you next time, guys. Bye-bye.